What's up, everybody? We are back with another recap episode. It was a very eventful weekend in the SEC this past Saturday, so we're actually going to go ahead and jump on in, and we're going to start it off with our marquee matchup. So, what are y'all's takeaways from the Tennessee Georgia game?
Uh, I'd like to say Tennessee is a very overrated team, but it's not like this is the end of the world. With the Alabama loss, they will likely still make the college football playoff unless LSU somehow goes 12-1, which we all know will probably not happen. But I'd like to say that Tennessee is slightly overrated. I had Tennessee coming in this game. I had them winning by 2 scores. I think Georgia has proved that they're that team. Georgia is unstoppable at the moment. They might have like some non-convincing wins, but like that Tennessee win showed how we really like truly thought. Against with Georgia, against good teams, they actually show up when it matters. It,
Mhm.
it's just weird for me. And Stetson Bennett played great out of his mind. I think Hooker played absolutely horrible, and he had some deep shots that he should have hit, but he barely missed every single one. That like it was insane. And there's a lot of opportunities where Tennessee could have came back. Tennessee could have gotten this. Tennessee should have gotten this at this point, but so many like it was so many mistakes that Tennessee beat themselves really.
So
I
if
wouldn't
y'all,
say Tennessee beat themselves, but
so if y'all remember
um,
from last week, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I almost predicted this game to the T. I said that Stetson Bennett would be the difference maker, that Georgia would win by multiple scores, and that this would be a game that shows Georgia's probably the number one team and the fact that home field advantage truly matters, all of which was true. And I'm kind of surprised not as many people expected it. However, I'm not going to go ahead and just say, like, oh, there it is. Tennessee's done. Their defense is 83rd in the country. They can't win on the road. No, that's all BS. And even though Hooker did show that he is not the greatest deep bomb threats, because considering he missed a lot of open high potential touchdowns, I will say Tennessee is still making the playoff because first off, other than Georgia, who in the SEC is competing with them? Not Alabama, definitely not Ole Miss. I mean, the only one you can even look at this point is LSU, and they have two losses already. So I still see them making the playoffs. They don't need to worry. Vol Nation, you're fine. And as for Georgia, you, my friends, have the number one team in football, undisputably. You have the best team in college football, and nobody can deny it at this point.
I can definitely agree with that one. I mean, going into this game, the only thing most people, including myself, wanted, regardless of the outcome, I wanted a good game. And it kind of wasn't. I mean, just you could tell simply from the start, the atmosphere almost played a key role in this as well because they said that it got up to, I think, 130 plus decibels, which is louder than a plane
100%.
in Sanford Stadium.
The false start
133.
penalties.
Yeah,
eight
like that
pre-snap
that
penalties.
showed that is exactly the position that Alabama was in at Neyland. I mean, the atmosphere complete factor there, and the defense truly probably heard a lot of the stuff that they were getting. You know, how are they going to stop Tennessee's deep threat and all that? And they showed up. They heard and they showed up. I mean, the key play I could see from that was the deep throw to Tillman. He was open, but number 5, can't remember his name, made a play in the national championship last year, basically to seal it. Just ran ahead of Tillman, picked it off, great play. So it showed that Georgia definitely is the number one team. And like he said, there's no reason for panic right now for Vol Nation because after the Alabama loss and Clemson absolutely getting boat raced by Notre Dame, all they really have to do is win out and they control their own destiny.
All right, let's be honest here. Georgia just dominated this football game. From the point where it was 3-0 to the end of the football game, it was not close. It wasn't even as close as the score says it was. 14. Tennessee got a little lucky getting it down to 14 for their playoff hopes. But I mean, Georgia, I think they're the only team in college football that has two elite units on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And I think, you know, the team was disrespected, the crowd was disrespected, and both of them showed out. If you told me Georgia scored 27, I probably would have told you that Georgia lost. But that defense just stepped up. The front seven was good, had 6 sacks, which I totally did not see coming. Tennessee was great, not getting sacked, and Georgia didn't have any sacks. 6 sacks, 8 pre-snap penalties from Tennessee. Did not handle the noise well very much at all. And Georgia just proved that they're the number 1 team in the country, and they're here to stay. And I will say, I had to love Kirby's jab at some other teams and other coaches saying that they took 0 players out of the portal post game. I thought that was pretty funny.
All right. B2's here. I made a lot of statements at the end of my take last week. For any
That's
Vol
true.
fan that's listening, I just want to go ahead and tell you this right now. The entire reason your defense looked pitiful is the defensive coordinator. Number one, the defense got embarrassed as they usually do. Number 2, your defensive coordinator sent blitzes for 1 drive in a 60-minute football game, said that'll do, and never sent any more. The second reason you can be pissed about this game, yeah, the team played their heart out. Wink, air quotations, whatever you want to do. The ball is 2 yards in front of you. Any like-minded individual, I don't know, I guess it's just me, would stick my hands out and try to receive the ball. But I believe that Tennessee's wide receiver coach did not teach them that. And another thing, the whole we like noise thing that Tennessee fans were rambling about? No, apparently y'all don't. Okay, Sanford Stadium holds 10,000 less fans than Neyland does. And they blew it out the water. Okay. Tennessee got humbled, but I do not think that's the last time we're going to see that matchup.
That's actually a good word that you use, humble, because if anything, I think Tennessee kind of needed this.
Yeah,
Tennessee needed to be
tough
Needed a
loss.
loss.
They
that
needed a loss,
because
but it's better for their program to take a loss to the number 1 defense and, in my opinion, a top 4 offense in the country than to throw it away to somebody such as like Mizzou or Vandy. Vol fans, you had your Hail Mary of the year. You got to win over Bama. It's not the end of the season. You win out, you could still possibly take the 4th spot. So don't be, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. No, listen, you still got a chance. That's why I'm saying I think Tennessee and Georgia will meet up again, probably in the playoffs. Not the national championship.
Let's talk
It'll
about
probably
that
be the
real quick.
playoffs. Go ahead.
So, what do we think? Neutral site, Tennessee, their coordinators get a second shot. They understand how physical
do not give
Georgia's
that
gonna
defensive
be.
coordinator a second shot. Somebody else needs to call plays for that defense. Sends one blitz, forces a fumble, and he's like, that's enough.
I have to say that Tim Banks is one of the most inconsistent defensive coordinators I've probably ever seen to coach a defensive team or a defensive side of the ball, because you saw it against Kentucky. Defense probably played their best against the best game all season. 3 turnovers, 3 picks.
Hold on. Before everybody gets talking, I would like to give a big shout out to the man who single-handedly pissed off Stetson Bennett. Good job, Rocky Topology. Congrats on posting his number out there.
He has a tiny wee
to allow Stetson Bennett
we're not
to
gonna
straight
completely
taunt on that
we're
defense.
gonna owe half of the loss to Rocky Topology simply for being kind of the brainless person that he is by leaking a player's phone number.
I just don't understand. Stetson even celebrated
Stetson said
with
he got
it.
6.
Yeah,
Stetson said he got 600-700 calls Friday night.
Like, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I might try to find that number just to call him and ask him if he wants to come on for an interview. I'm not even lying to y'all. But,
get Stetson Bennett here to ask him.
I want to get him after. I want to get him on another one of those hangover interviews, though. That's the only Stetson interview I want.
I did find it funny that Georgia sent the same blitz on basically 3 straight plays
times
and got a sack every time.
Tennessee's running back was so confused with the same blitz coming through. I watched one time because it's the marquee matchup. I'm going to watch it. He watches the DB coming and he's just like, you know what? I'm not blocking today, and sidestep the dude. I was like, what does that do? No wonder. But I will tell you this. I've seen the look in Brady's eyes. I've seen the look in LeBron's eyes. That last sack when Hendon stayed on the ground for a minute and all Vol fans thought the season was over because Hendon probably died. No, when he got up, that look he made, yeah, Tennessee's not going anywhere until like probably the semifinals of the playoff. But
Yeah, but like I said, real quick, since I know we got to move on, get to other games, especially that one in Baton Rouge that was
oh
an
boy.
all-time classic. But
That was the game that everyone thought this one, Georgia Tennessee would be.
like, what are we thinking? What are we thinking could happen if these two teams meet again? I mean, do we think it's gonna be? Do
I
we
would
think
say
there's that
closer.
much of an improvement that can?
I would
be
say
made?
closer. I wouldn't call out a
I would say
specific
closer,
winner.
but do we think that Tennessee could win? I mean, I don't think Georgia played their best game.
All right.
And
so
I mean, let's be honest, the refs.
It would
That
be
was-
a
that was
closer
targeting
Georgia.
one.
It
That
would be
was
a closer
targeting.
Georgia
It was
win.
targeting and it was a safety.
Now,
But
That was
what I
definitely
want
a
to
safety.
say, what
That
I
was
want to say
definitely a safety.
about
Yeah,
if
no,
they
I
meet
have to
again.
agree
It
there.
was a safety.
If
It
they
was a
meet
safety.
again, Tennessee won. From what I saw, didn't open up the offensive playbook to what they usually had. Now, yeah, the receivers were clamped
I'm not
and
sure.
wouldn't
I'm not sure
reach.
Georgia allowed them.
Well, the
But-
thing about Tennessee's offense is people like to call it air raid, but it's not. They rush the ball more than most people in the country, and that's how it works. They live off the
It's
run.
literally just
Open
RPO.
up
It's
those
West
deep
Coast.
play action. Open up the deep play action passes that you see that are basically let's say, staple of the fast-paced offenses. You need to be able to run the ball and set up in those short passes to get defenses to bite, and then you take the haymaker, as they call it, shot downfield. But just with how Georgia's defense was ready for it, they knew that that's how that worked.
All right, everybody
then
do
they
one
took it away.
last sentence for this take because we got a couple more games to go.
I'll just say one more thing, and it's that next game, the main point that Tennessee's going to improve on is penalties, because it's going to be a neutral site and they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot as they did in this game, considering every single drive they'd start off with like a holding or a false start or something that was probably affected by the crowd. So it'll be a lot more disciplined game by Tennessee, but I still see Georgia winning.
I'll say it'll be closer. I think they might be able to move the ball a bit better. I couldn't tell you a winner, mainly because you don't know how well either defense shows up. So I think it'll be a closer game nonetheless.
I don't see, if Georgia plays good, not even just Tennessee, if Georgia plays good, I don't think this is that much out there of a take. If Georgia plays good, I don't think there's a team in the country that can beat them.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You're not wrong. But
Yeah.
let's go ahead and move on. We're going to save the best for last so that we can speed run through these next 5 games. Kentucky and Missouri.
Kentucky,
Ugh.
Missouri. Kentucky should have
Ugh.
lost this game. Missouri
Can we-
had
do we
the
even
game,
need to
and
talk
Missouri
about this
beat
one?
themselves. Missouri beat themselves. Did you guys see that
Ugh.
play? Oh my god!
No.
I did
Well, let's
not.
be
I
honest.
did
Are
not,
we
but,
surprised?
Did you see the punt
But
at
are
the end
we
of the
su-
game?
But Jackson,
I
are
did
you
not.
surprised though? Missouri's done this before. They've shot
Yeah, versus
themselves in the foot before.
versus
We can't really
Auburn.
say this is like a
Missouri-
shocking loss.
Missouri's a solid team. They just keep on shooting themselves in the foot.
Nah,
Like
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say they're
solid team?
Depends on what you define as solid team, but I assume he means like a barely bowl eligible, and that's fair to say.
no,
Eli
yeah,
Drinkwitz, I've said
I-
it before. I'll say it again. Not the answer.
Eli
yeah, they
was never
extended
the
him.
answer.
They extended him to 2020.
Yeah, I know.
They extended that dude for 2 years. Like, what are you doing?
No, they extended
this
him
is-
to
that's the-
2027.
Every other SEC fan, Missouri, thank you. We really appreciate
Exactly.
that.
No, don't
that
thank
early
you.
Christmas present.
That extension is the do
No,
something
don't thank you.
and improve the team, or you're
Thank
fired.
South Carolina, because if they didn't beat South Carolina, he wouldn't have gotten it.
Thank you, Spencer Rattler, for being the most mid quarterback that we've known since before the season. We really
Yeah, shut up.
appreciate you for showing that all of us were
Mid.
correct.
Yeah, he's probably a bit below that, but we're gonna
Not
Move
out-
on from
bad.
that.
Like,
All right.
Okay,
Let's
let's
talk.
get actual thoughts on the Kentucky and Missouri.
I watched this entire game, and it was just boring. It was depressing. Brady Cook in the second half answered everything. He led Missouri down. It was 13-3 at one point in the fourth quarter or late third. I forgot which one.
All right,
But
boys, I
Brady
don't
Cook
mean to cut
scored
in
seven-
between. Let's keep our takes to like 2 sentences on this
Yeah.
one because y'all know we got to talk a lot about Baton
Yeah.
Rouge beatdown.
He allowed
Oh,
14 Kentucky allowed 14 points unanswered. It was 17-14. It was 17-14 Missouri, and then Missouri screwed up, and Missouri had a used all their timeouts, held Kentucky. They held them to a punt to get the last ball of the game, and then
All right, Speedy
the punt was
Gonzalez, breathe.
it was over. The punt, the snapper, it went over the punter's head, and he got off, and he still got the punt off. It was supposed to be at the 2-yard line, but it was going to be a bad punt. And then Missouri at the 2-yard line ran into the kicker on 4th and 10.
Jackson, this can be summarized in just one
My bad.
sentence.
My bad.
Speaking,
My bad.
speaking
This was a
faster
boring
does
game
not
with
mean
mid teams. That's
In the
it.
fourth quarter, not in the fourth quarter. It was actually
Mid-Tucky versus Mizzou, like I said last week.
Yeah.
Anybody else got a
Exactly.
1-sentence take that's not speed talking so that I don't think it's 2 sentences when you say
my
an entire
one
essay?
sentence here is they both suck, and Mark
That's what I was
Stoops
gonna say.
might not be the coach of Kentucky within 5 years.
I give it
He's been there for a
That's
while.
you call it a hot take or not, but
He's the
they-
best
that
coach
is
in Kentucky
my
history.
take.
to
Who are they
scratch,
gonna
bro.
hire, bro? He's the best coach in their team
Exactly,
history.
but I mean,
They'll go hire the second worst coach in the SEC, Shane Beamer.
How would they
Shane's not
hire
that
him?
bad.
Kentucky makes no money in football.
Beamer
How
is
would they
better than
hire
Jimbo
There
him?
you go.
Fisher.
Maybe Kentucky
regardless
can pick up
of,
Parsons.
regardless of how
Shane
much
Beamer
a
is better than
coach-
Jimbo
No,
Fisher.
no. I'm just
All right,
asking
all right,
how
all
would
right,
Kentucky
all right.
hire anybody
Okay, Jackson.
like
All right,
this?
let's-
I love you to death.
Next game.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk about Florida
They make
beating
no
a
money.
depleted Texas. Shut up.
Oh, they
Okay,
play,
Okay,
they play the
I-
wait,
JV
can I please
football
start this
team.
one off? I'm sorry, Jackson. I gotta say something.
I got it
So-
after you. I got it after you.
I got you.
Don't.
Yeah.
I got after Jackson.
So
2 sentences.
before
boys.
this game,
Two
before this
sentences.
game, I said that that Texas A&M would win. However, I did not realize the injury report, and I want to read to you guys the real injury report for Texas A&M. Are you ready? Starting
Yes.
left guard out, backup left guard out, starting center out, starting quarterback out,
All right,
starting
hold on,
wide
hold on,
receiver,
hold on, hold on.
starting
We're gonna
second
sa-
wide
We're going to
receiver.
save a couple of words. All of these people he's about to mention are out. Go for it.
and
but
they were all
start-
out because of the flu outbreak.
Point
Fluid.
is,
no,
continuing.
not all of them.
Starting wide receiver,
Oh,
starting
I
wide
thought they were all-
receiver, backup wide receiver, starting defensive end, starting defensive end, backup defensive end, backup defensive end, starting defensive tackle, starting linebacker, starting quarterback, backup cornerback, starting nickel, backup nickel, and starting safety. Their
running back
entire
got
team
hurt
was
in the second
That
gone.
is
half.
half a team.
Literally, their entire. You are playing a practice squad. So Florida winning
Exactly.
this game, 0 props. You don't deserve any credit. If anything, the only person that I will give a bit of credit is Anthony Richardson, just because over the last 3 games, he's actually looked halfway decent. But other than that, as a Florida team, do not give yourselves a pat on the back. You won a game that basically any team in the SEC can win. When the
It would
entire
have
roster
been-
is gone, you should
Yeah.
win it.
Yeah, the fact that they
And it was only in
struggled,
the second
the fact
half.
that they struggled that badly to A&M was sad. That was embarrassing.
1,000%.
Embarrassing. And by the way, I'd like to say I heard that A&M switched their play calling in the second half to where they only did passes where the entire first half, all of their beneficial plays were runs, big, huge runs that get, and they changed the entire plays. I think
I wonder whose
I think-
fault that is.
I think the running back got hurt. I don't know for sure though.
All
Money
here's your
bag.
two
No,
sentences.
A-Chain wasn't hurt. They just didn't want to give him too many carries on a game that they knew we wouldn't win. Or
What?
that Texas A&M wouldn't
That
win.
makes no sense.
It makes
You're
zero
trying to
sense.
fight for bowl eligibility, whether you have a team or not. You
Okay,
still
Jimbo
gotta get
Fisher
a win.
is a idiot.
Jimbo Fisher doesn't care if he makes a bowl game or
okay,
not.
We've hit the
Okay, that's a good
two-sentence
point.
mark,
Actually, Dane, that's a
Jackson.
good point.
All
I
right.
forgot Jimbo doesn't really care about wins. He cares about the bag.
Oil money.
So,
All right. Who hasn't made their take on this? We've got like 3 other games.
So I'll say everything else everyone else said. This game was basically Florida, a complete team, call it a complete team if you want, versus a practice squad level team. Jimbo Fisher, and that's the take.
I would like to say that
well-
V2 is taking donations to donate to Texas A&M right now to buy out that man's contract.
They do not need
They
that.
need it. They need it. So basically, Florida, you lucked into one here. A&M had a bunch of people out. Now, could have Florida have won anyway? Maybe. I picked Florida to win this game, not because I knew A&M had all these people out, but I mean, obviously, Florida was supposed to win that game. But A&M's not going to go to a bowl game. Half their 5 stars have already left. That program's in a sad state of affairs right now.
Oh, you mean the
Alright.
5 stars they totally didn't buy?
Oil money is oil
They
money,
need that.
baby.
They need all that money that they paid those 5 stars that already left the team. They need that money back to pay Jimbo.
Everybody on planet Earth besides Texas A&M fans knew exactly how this season was going to go, and everybody else was right. They're
Alright,
gonna
boys,
finish probably below 8-4.
Let's go ahead and talk about Auburn and Mississippi State.
Mississippi
I did not
State should have
expect
not been in this
Auburn
close.
to play that.
And now let me
good.
tell you something. Robbie Ashford in the second half was that guy, man. I don't know what happened. I don't know what drugs he took. Probably the same drugs you tried last week that somehow worked. But I'm talking about Jason somehow
So-
picking LSU to win, and they won.
Money bag.
So for some godforsaken reason, I had the time and I ended up watching this game fully.
Yeah, I did too. I watched it
And
too. Auburn missed the field goal in
I am going to be
overtime.
honest. This was arguably the dumbest game I've seen in the history of Mississippi State's program. I'm going to explain to you what happened at the very end of the game. So Mississippi State, after leading like 15-0 in the first half, and then 24-6 to close out the first half, they were expected to basically blow out Auburn. And for some reason, Mike Leach pulled a Mike Leach and sold really hard. And he almost really sold the game to the point where Auburn scored a touchdown with a minute left and Mississippi State had to drive down the field. So first, they kick off the ball and Auburn collects a penalty that gives them 15 yards. So Mississippi State starts out on the 50. I don't remember how it was exactly the 50. I think the return was good. Then they get an immediate pass that gets them into field goal range, and then one more play that sets them up for the field goal. And they kick 2 times in a row. Both were timeouts. Both were made field goals. Kicks a third time and still makes it. The game is tied. Then they go to overtime. Or no, I'm sorry. They oh my gosh, what happened? Oh, I can't even remember because this game was so ridiculous. Oh yeah.
Auburn scored a touchdown, got the 2-point conversion. They took the lead over Mississippi State. Then
Yeah.
Mississippi State scored. They got the onside kick. Then
But here's the
didn't
thing.
score.
The onside kick was the dumbest part about it. It wasn't supposed to be an onside kick. He kicked the ball, and it was so bad of a kick that it hit Auburn, like one of the player returners, in the face and bounced
Bro,
right back to them.
that-
And it was
that
so
would've been the
stupid that Auburn's
been the
coach was
most
complaining about it.
That'd have been the most Auburn way to lose ever.
Yep. They lost
talk-
because the
I mean-
football hit them in the face. And then Mississippi
Something
State scored in
similarly
overtime.
Alright.
happened to 2020 to South Carolina in 2020 playing Tennessee, where they lost because it bounced off the heel of one of their own players after a punt.
you meant you. Oh yeah. Oh, that was Cam Smith. I think I remember watching that game.
I watched it too.
This-
should
That
have
was
won
Cam
Alright.
Smith.
All right, boys,
Tennessee
we're gonna
should've
go
won
ahead
that
and
game.
move on to Liberty and Arkansas.
What a
I feel
boring.
Okay. Okay.
I
This
mean,
was with a
Arkan-
healthy KJ
Hugh
Jefferson.
Freeze.
Arkansas
Hugh
kind of
Freeze
came
is
out
in.
of nowhere to make this game close, but like still
No.
embarrassing.
been a
Embarrassing
close
loss.
game.
I think
How
this
good
gives a
is
lot of
Liberty?
respect to Liberty's
2
defense,
sentences,
man.
boys. I'm tired of these essays.
Absolutely.
Liberty's defense is a top 25 defense
Jackson.
for holding that. Okay, that was one sentence. I'm done.
I didn't think Liberty was that good of a team, but to be fair, I've never watched them. But
We have
props to
10
them for
minutes to get through this. South Carolina and Bama. Come on.
All
Let's
right.
just skip
Props
South
to
Carolina.
Liberty's defense. I hadn't really watched any of Liberty football this season because I don't really pay attention to that
Actually,
conference. But props
okay.
to them for keeping it and beating Arkansas. It's an
Yeah, you
interesting
know
stat
what?
line.
Congrats, Arkansas, for keeping it close, but we're going to go ahead and move on to South Carolina and Vandy. Everybody, you have 3 words. South Carolina is bad. There's 4. I'm sorry.
Vanderbilt.
South
is
Carolina
also
was without
bad.
almost half their team, like A&M was,
Yeah, and you're without speaking privileges.
and
Uh,
Spencer Rattler
You want my-
played great.
You want my
Spen-
3 words? Here they are. Battle of irrelevancy.
There we go. All right.
Perfect. Let's move on.
Let's move on
Yeah.
to
Rattler played
Bama
great. Spencer
and-
Rattler made a bowl. I mean, South Carolina.
Okay. I
Shush.
don't know
Bull.
who keeps telling you can speak, but it's not me. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to Bama and LSU. Wow.
Holy
the
smokes!
the
What a game!
balls.
What massive,
Brian Kelly.
massive balls!
Dude,
But
let me tell you
I
something.
Dude
that
is
was the
walking
biggest
around
ball.
campus today.
I thought this was the
His
stupidest
hands
play
held
call
low.
of all
I
time.
think this was the best
But,
play
oh
call. You're
my.
not going to beat Bryce Young in overtime.
Wait, guys,
It
real
was
quick.
smart.
I
You're not
want to
gonna beat
bring up
Bryce
an
Young in
awesome
overtime.
story about this game. So, as y'all know, I go to Florida State, therefore I'm a fan of Florida State. So I have no bias going into this. And I was at the game where LSU played their first week in New Orleans. They scored a 100-yard drive touchdown, and they just had to kick an extra point, and they missed it. And all the fans were complaining, saying, "Why the heck did you not go for two? You should have gone for two. Florida State's defense looked awful." And most people would agree if they did that, they probably would have won. And ultimately, Brian Kelly lost because of that. This time, they get put in the exact same situation, and Brian Kelly says, excuse my language. Well, actually, I'm not going to say it. Screw it. I'm going to go for two this time. And they end up winning. So this was kind of full circle. And you know what? I feel good for them. That was a cool game.
That was a great game, and I'm so happy for LSU to finally break that streak again. And LSU's the number one team in the West. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. But you're not going to beat Bryce Young in overtime if it goes to multiple overtimes. You might miss the PAT. Knowing how kickers have been this year, you could have missed it.
Bama's
But
not the same
realistically,
Bama they used to
I
be.
would have gone for 2-2. That was the smartest play call I've ever witnessed.
And I will also say this is going to be maybe a bit of a hot take. Alabama is falling. The
yeah, for
coaching
sure.
and the discipline that I used to see from Nick Saban and the accountability where he'd yell at players on the sidelines is no longer there. For example,
Yeah.
I saw Dallas
Nick
Turner
Saban's
make a
ready to
really
retire.
bad horse collar tackle, and they got penalized for 15 yards. 5 years ago, Saban is sitting him for that whole drive. Yet in this game, he just calmed him down and clapped and stuff. And I'm like, what is that?
Also,
It's Nick Saban.
I'd like to say about Tennessee, this is probably the best quarterback under Tennessee. I mean, not under Tennessee, under Alabama ever. And they have not won a national championship with him. This is the best quarterback to ever come out of Alabama. I don't care what you say.
Bryce Young is the best quarterback in college football.
Bryce
And anybody
Young
who
is him.
disagrees is biased.
This is the best prospect to come out of Bama at the quarterback position by far. It is not even close.
Excuse me,
It's not close.
I'll take Will Levis.
Yeah,
I'm
bro.
one and
Yeah,
a
bro.
Mayo Man supporter.
Somebody mute the old man.
I don't know. Heisman Anthony Richardson looking dangerous.
Hey, I think we're all
okay, calm
Hold on,
down.
guys.
Calm
Anthony
down.
Richardson's last 3 games, he's thrown for 835 total yards.
Hey guys,
9
but
touchdowns and
Will
0
Rogers
ints.
scored 39 points.
What happened?
Okay.
How
Okay,
should I listen
that's-
to
This game, the LSU Bama game, was probably what everyone wanted and expected Georgia Tennessee to be. This game was absolutely insane. The balls to go for two to win the game was probably the coolest and, like he said, the best full circle storyline this entire season, and it showed. So
1000%.
now LSU is in sole possession of the West, and that LSU Ole Miss matchup soon to come will have a lot of implications.
Yep.
Um,
And also,
was
this
just-
is one other
that
point.
was just a great game. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. This is just one other point that I wanted to mention, and again, another potential hot take, but I think it's a little bit colder. This game proved to me that even though Bryce Young still has flaws, and this game really showed it, he is without a doubt the number one quarterback in this draft and the number one quarterback in the country. I no longer stand here's the thing. I partially root for I have a bit of a bias towards Vol Nation in Tennessee. Yet I can safely say that Bryce Young is way better than Hendon Hooker, and I can also safely say that he is better than CJ Stroud. That man makes an
Definitely
average
better than
Alabama
CJ Stroud.
offense look unfair.
All right.
Well, just let me get my point in real quick before you gloat about you picking this game correctly. This was one heck of a game. I didn't really see LSU winning this. I thought it'd be closer than some other people thought. But, I mean, props to LSU for going out there and just winning the football game. And they control their destiny to get to Atlanta at this point. And I mean, props to them. Props to Brian Kelly. I don't know who told everybody that he wasn't a good coach because I just don't agree with that. And I think he proved that Saturday night.
Here's a good question. If Ed Orgeron was still the coach at LSU, does he make that call?
No.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know. Ed was
Probably
kind of a
not,
wild
because not
dude.
many people would. That just takes a
that's
lot of
good point.
balls.
You know
What?
it does.
He actually, no, I take that back. He does, and they don't win the game. That's what I expect. He makes a worse call for 2.
Yeah, he doesn't call that. He doesn't call a rollout like that.
All right.
He'd probably call a stretcher dive down the middle.
We have
Exactly.
3 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and do my take, and then I'll do the sign off. Y'all ready?
Let's hear it.
All right. I told you all last week, and you didn't believe me. I told y'all LSU is going to win this game. Bama's not the same team that they've been for the past 15 years.
I'll take my L.
LSU didn't. But if anything has been proven from this past week of college football, it's literally any given Saturday. Everybody was saying LSU did not deserve that number 10 ranking. They still don't. They got lucky against a team that basically has their ranking because of a popularity vote. Everybody's like, you can't win that many rings and not be good. Guess what, everybody? They're not good this year. They're a 2-loss team. They're not making the playoffs. They'll play a New Year's Six bowl against some team, and if that team beats them, I'm sorry, Nick, it might be time to hang up the headset. You're a great coach. We love what you've done for college football, but maybe it's time. Getting a little too old for it. But with that being said, thank y'all for joining us. Oh, hold on. Rush, what do you want to say?
Real quick. Shouts out to Kansas winning, getting bowl eligible for the first time since 2008. They storm the field, tear down the goalpost, throw it into the lake,
Greatest story.
just like Tennessee did. And on their Twitter, they post a picture of the goalpost up in the stadium on Saturday night with the caption, "No GoFundMe needed."
Okay,
Yep. Rush,
I'm going to address that real
Got it.
quick. Just to fill up some of the time that we have left. I'm going to address that.
We have no time
We
left. I got to
didn't.
do the sign off.
Tennessee did not need that money. They are a rich school. They are in a very good spot. They didn't need the money to actually
they're
be
an SEC
funded
school,
and
for God's
raised
sake.
for new goalposts. They had the money. It was a simple, funny gag that people did donate money to. So congrats, I mean, you gave Tennessee
You got
more
played.
money.
Congrats.
You did get played because you fell for it, but they didn't need.
You gave them money so they could
donations.
buy another
They-
player.
They
Yeah,
already
they
had
didn't-
plenty of. They
Congrats
have
on
they
helping
didn't need
Nico
the
stay at
money.
Tennessee.
Let's go into the NIL
But
funds.
they created a
They-
GoFundMe so they could open another
You already have
McDonald's.
ton.
Alright.
Oh,
All right, boys. Thank y'all for joining us for this recap episode. Didn't mean to cut you off there, Nate, but we are under a minute
You're
left to
fine.
go before we get cut off. Thank y'all for joining us. Make sure you check out Pro U Sports. Still don't understand what the problem is with SeatGeek. It took them like a month and a half to get back to me after I applied for us to get sponsored, and now they're probably going to take 2 months to accept the sponsorship. So that's great. Thank y'all for joining us. And as we always end the episodes, good morning, good afternoon, and good night from the V2 crew.